everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Diana and I am the owner and face behind Strings to Things. Today I wanted to take a moment to introduce to you my very first pattern, the Market Crossbody Tote. Here she is. She is a very lightweight, reusable style market bag that I made into a crossbody style. The idea for this bag came to me in the middle of the night. I have been thinking about a bag that I can use as a reusable bag, whether I'm in the mall or a market or a fair or just anywhere in general that I did not physically want to carry a reusable bag. I prefer using a crossbody or sling type bag. I don't like anything in my hands. I don't like anything on my shoulder. They tend to fall off, or, you know, the crook of my arm. It makes it very uncomfortable for me to shop. I like to be hands-free. So coming up with this idea for this tote, I wanted it to be something that was very lightweight, reusable. I can fold up. I can just, toss it in my car, grab it when I'm out shopping. So after, many trials and getting the pattern just the way I had envisioned in my head, it took some time. And I, of course, posted it on social media, and I did have many people reach out, like, is there going to be a pattern? I've never written a pattern before. I did pick some brains from some bag besties, and, I just sat down and I got busy and I wrote it up. And I'm very excited about it, and I wanted to share it with you. As you can see, it's a pretty decent sized bag. It's actually a little bit deceiving. You can fit a lot of stuff in here. And the idea is it's got like this unique style handle on it that is, not too thick, not too thin, where it's not going to dig into your shoulder when you have added weight. It's not going to fall off with the curvature of the handle. So a lot of thought went into that as well. It does have a little inset zipper. I preferred having a zipper because if I wanted to throw my keys or my wallet in here as I'm shopping, I can do that and know that it's secure behind the zipper and, whatnot. But it is not lined. There is absolutely no raw seams in this bag. And I absolutely love it. In the pattern, I do suggest using very lightweight materials. Whether it's a ripstop fabric, which is what this was, a water resistant canvas, a very lightweight waterproof canvas. You don't want anything with that plasticky back, just because they deteriorate over time. And I have made one in a poly nylon or a nylon type fabric, or, that is very, very popular right now, which I absolutely love. But it is going to be very dependent on what your machine can handle. Most of the bags that I have made on my Juki TL18. I use Tex 45 thread in both my top and my bobbin, and I use a Microtex 8012 needle. And I've made most of the bags on this machine. The only one that I actually had to use a different machine was the nylon. So with the nylon, there's one area where there's bulky seams, which is in the area where the gusset and the handle meet. There's little corners here that are very, very, very thick, that can get very thick. I do give you a little tip in the pattern to reduce that bulk a little bit, but because there is no raw seams in this bag, those two seams I did end up having to use my beast behind me. It's my Juki DNU 1541, just for those two seams, just because my TL18, I have difficulty with thick seams, and I know a lot of people are fine with thicker seams. But because I have my beast behind me, I just went and used that. But I have used nylon. I have used the ripstop in very many patterns. As you could see, I have quite a bit of bags that I have made in the ripstop. It's super easy. And I have also done a water resistant type canvas. This material came to me from Backstitch Fabrics. Unfortunately, they are no longer in business. Iris Textiles has taken it over, and they have a structured water resistant canvas, which is basically what this is. It feels like canvas, but it is a water resistant, waterproof material. I prefer those because they are, you can easily wash them and wipe them down. They're waterproof, they're sturdy, they're gonna last. You can make it with quilt cotton or a cotton canvas. I have not made them in those materials. I did have a tester make one with a quilted cotton, and she absolutely said it was totally fine. My thoughts over that is that cotton tends to stretch over time. It's harder to keep clean. You do have to, you know, throw it in the washing machine. Whereas the other materials, the bonded nylon, the water resistant canvas or waterproof canvas, and the ripstop tile materials, I feel you could just take a rag and you can wash them. But it's all going to be a personal preference and what your machine can handle. So without further ado, let's get busy with that tutorial. Click like and subscribe if you like my videos, want to see more. I would greatly appreciate it. So let's get sewing. Okay, so let's talk about some supplies that you will need in order to make this pattern. I have double stick tape. I prefer the 1/8 inch just because some of our seams are 1/4 of an inch. And if you don't like the double stick tape in your seam allowances, this is probably a better size to go. I have a ruler, a lighter, seam roller. These are the key fob pliers. I prefer these ones. I got these on Amazon. They have the rubber tips on them. Your stiletto, as well as a seam ripper. I have 3 marking pens. I have my air erase pen, I have a heat erase pen, and I have my silver marking pen. A good pair of scissors, clips. I always keep alcohol pads to wipe off my needle on the other side of my sewing machine here. And that's about it for supplies. Our pattern pieces, we have our zipper tape, we have our gusset piece, we have our handle piece, we have our front and back panels, we have our zipper pull, our piece of elastic, if you're choosing to do the elastic, our zipper tab, and then I have my bag tag. I'm doing woven. I prefer this to put this into the seam of our bag. Okay, so we're going to start with some of our prep work. The first thing we're going to do is prep our zipper. In the pattern, I have you make a marking because we're going to fold down the ends of our zipper. And we're going to fold down the ends of our zipper at that marking. I prefer using a lighter to tack this down. You can do it any which way you want, whether you put a pin in it and do a stitch down the side, whatever is your most preferred method. I apparently like to burn my fingers. And that's it. We're going to do that, and then we're going to separate our zipper. I know, but it's fine. Trust me. Separate our zipper, and then we're going to prep our main panels. So on our main panels, I have you doing 2 markings in the upper corner of each panel. So up in these upper corners of the panels, I have you doing 2 markings. So you're going to go ahead and do that. Depending on your material, you may want to use an airy mason marker, but keep in mind that will fade over time, or you can use a silver marking pen as long as it's out of your seam allowance. And I'm going to do those 2 markings. I'm going to do one on the top, one on the side, and I've already done the other side. And I've done the other panel. Then you'll take your double stick tape and you're going to go from those two markings in the top. Put down your double stick tape. And then you're going to then you will mark your centers on the bottom. I do a small little clip since we are doing a French seam, and I just mark the centers on the bottom. And then what you will do is you are going to just set the zipper in place. You're going to pull off some of that double stick tape, and you will take one of your zipper sides face down, and you're going to put it in the beginning of that mark and right across. And I like to make a mark on the other end of the zipper where that 1 inch mark is, so I know where to stop, because you will only be sewing from the beginning of the zipper tape to that mark on the other side. You're not going to sew all the way across. To stop my sewing. And we'll set these aside and we're going to grab our gusset piece. On our gusset, we have in the pattern, it has you putting in, marking on your two short sides, 2 markings. You will go ahead and do both of those markings on either side, and you're going to fold. So you will fold up to that first line, give it a good little press. We'll take off the paper of the double stick tape. And then you're going to fold it up to that top line. Give it a nice finger press. Get my seam roller. Do a little roll. And I stick a couple of clips just to hold it. And then you're also going to mark on both sides your center markings. And that's it for the gusset. Now you'll grab your handle. On the handle in the pattern, it has you doing also 2 lines on either side of the long edges and putting double stick tape all the way down. I've done a lot of the prep work because I'm sure you do not want to sit here and watch me fold. But you'll do the same thing you did on your short ends of your gusset. You are going to take off that paper and you're going to do a fold up to that first line and then fold again to that second line. And that's it. Your handle has been prepped. Now we're going to start assembling. We're going to grab our main panels again. And we are going to stitch down our zipper tape with the seam allowance that is in the pattern. Make sure to backstitch at the beginning and end. All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to flip it to the wrong side, and across the entire top edge of this, you are going to put some double stick tape. Okay. Now you are going to flip your zipper up. I just give it a good finger press. We're going to take off that double stick tape. And then we're going to stick her down. And this is just going to help hold it for our next step. Now, our next step is on the right side in our prep work, we made a second line down the side of our panel. You're going to kind of pinch that wrong sides together. And give it a good press. And it will oops. Okay. And you can put that in place. You're going to repeat that for the second panel. Now, one of the things that you do want to make sure that you do is you want to make sure that you pull this out of the way. You do not want to sew your tail in the top stitching of our next step. So now what you're going to do is you are going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch from this edge, the top edge, and 1/8 of an inch from the fold at the zipper. I prefer doing it wrong side up. It's easier for me. I can see what I'm doing. If you prefer doing it wrong side down, that is totally a personal preference. Unfortunately, you will see the bobbin on the back side. So if your bobbin does not match, then I would recommend you doing it on the with the right side up. But my bobbin matches, so I am going to be sewing it from the wrong side up. Okay, and your panels should look like that. And your panels are finished. So you're going to set those aside, and you are going to grab your strap. Now on your strap, you are going to top stitch along each of the inner folded edges, not the outer, just the inner. I, again, prefer to do this with the wrong side up, so I can see and I'm making sure that I am catching it. But again, my bobbin matches my top thread, so I am comfortable doing that. Okay, now that our handle has been top stitched, it's very pretty, with both of the short ends in front of you, the pattern has you doing, again, 2 markings. So you're going to go ahead and do those on both sides. And you will put double stick tape just below that top marking. And again, you're going to fold up to the first line and then take your paper off, fold up to the second line, give it a good little press, especially those corners. And I'm going to just hold that in place for right now. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. And then just like with the gusset, you're going to find your centers on these and mark it. And flip right side over, and you're going to apply double stick tape to the bottom edge of this. On the right side. Now we're going to grab our gusset piece and our elastic. So if you are using elastic, you're going to want to grab that as well. So here's my elastic. And I am just going to melt the ends together. I find that this keeps them from shifting, so it always looks nice and straight. And what you're going to do is you are going to take one of your ends. If you don't have a directional print, you could pick either end, but keep in mind with a directional print, you're going to want to make sure that when you are looking at the bag, that the elastic is on the opposite end of where the zipper closes. So for me, I have my zipper going to the left, so I am going to put my elastic on the right-hand side. So I'm going to peel off this double stick tape on one of the sides. I'm going to put my elastic with the hoop facing the long end of it and the edge just at the bottom. We are not going to go past the bottom. Try and get it as centered as you could. We want it to not stick out the bottom when we sew it on. Okay. And then you'll grab one of your gussets and you're going to lay your gusset wrong side up. Then you will flip this so it's wrong side up. And then you are going to match those center points and seams so they're right over each other. And it looks like one seam. Okay, this again is where these little pliers come into play. This right here are your two bulkiest points. I do give you a tip in the pattern to reduce the bulk. It's only a little tiny bit. So you do have to be mindful of the materials, especially in these two corners. And then I just clip those to hold it in place. And you're going to want to do the same thing, being 100% sure you are not twisting. And match those center seams. and seams. Good press. Give it a good squeeze. You can also hammer these. I like to exercise my muscles and give them a squeeze. And then I personally like to take this and be 100% sure that I am not twisted. Okay? Then you're going to do 2 rows of stitching. You're going to do one on the top edge and then one on the bottom edge. And again, I do it from the wrong side up. If you prefer doing it the other way, go right ahead. All the power to you.
Gusset piece is done. Elastic is on. I do a, back and forth on the where the elastic is, just to make sure that I know it's really tacked in very well. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find the centers of your gussets on both sides. So you're going to match up your side seams and just come down and mark your centers. Okay, you're going to want to grab your front panel. So the front panel, when it is right side up in front of you, your zipper closure will be on the left, and your zipper end that is tacked down will be on your right. I'm actually going to take my zipper end and I am going to fold it inwards and clip it inwards. So this way it's not going to get caught into my side seam. Okay, and you are going to lay that wrong side up, and you will take your gusset and handle, and you are going to lay that wrong side down. So your wrong sides are going to be together. You're going to match up that center point, and you're going to clip. And then match up your sides. And continue clipping all the way around. Okay, when you get to the corners, you are going to make small clips into the corners. You want to keep them less than 1/4 of an inch. Set both sides. It's going to seem very, very tight, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Because of it being a French seam, the seam allowance is a little bit bigger. So then I flip it, so that way I can make a bowl. And I can get it to fit in there. Spreading that gusset out. I'm spreading that gusset out so it fits. then you are going to sew around the perimeter at a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all 3 sides, making sure to back stitch on the beginning and the end. Okay, take your time around those corners. They are very doable without getting any creases, as long as you take your time. I did end up using my hemostats. I prefer doing that instead of my fingers. And then I'm just going to give these ends a lot of thread sticking out. Then what you're going to do is you're going to trim your seam allowance down to 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now what you're going to do is you are going to flip it so the wrong side is out. Smooth out those corners. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pinch that seam, give it a good roll, and flip it. You can see the seam is right in the middle. Give it a little roll and flip it. And you're going to do this all the way around. Okay, once you have it all clipped, this is where I like to add in my little woven tag. Oh, found it. So this is where I like to add my little woven tag. So looking at my bag from the right side, I am going to stick it over in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unclip this. I'm going to stick it in the seam right about where I want it and re-pinch it. And I'm actually going to grab another clip and then I'm going to put it in like that. And so it's going to, once we sew this down, it's going to be right in that front seam. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to stitch around at the seam allowance. I should also note that we are going to start and stop just shy of the top corner and end just shy on the other side. We don't want those stitches to go over that seam. Okay. And what we're going to do is flip it right side out. Make sure we do not have any raw seams. We don't have any puckers. The corners are nice and beautiful. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. Guys, we're almost done. Beautiful. Now we're going to do basically the same exact thing with the back panel. So we're going to grab that back panel. We're going to go wrong side up. And then take our gusset, other end. the right side up and clip them wrong sides together. All the way around, just like we did with the front panel. Okay, so I went ahead off camera and I did the first row of stitching and I trimmed down the seam allowance. So you're going to want to flip this inside out. And you're going to want to pinch those seams and roll them all the way around. Okay, so now you're going to want to stitch the seam allowance all the way around. You're going to start and stop just shy of the top edge. Okay, and you can flip the bag right side in, out. Admire your beautiful corners. All we have left is the zipper. So we are going to go ahead, take our clips off the top. We're going to install our zipper tape, or install our zipper pull. Sorry. And then we're going to do our zipper ends. So we're going to grab our zipper ends, zipper tab. In the pattern, I have you mark 2 vertical lines. You're going to put double stick tape on each side of the lines. As shown, you're going to pull that off, pull your paper off. You're going to fold the end up to that line. Okay, then you're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together, just to make a crease. And then we're going to fold those short lines in to that center crease. So ultimately, you're going to have what looks like a little zipper tab with no raw edges. And then you will wrap that around the end of your zipper tape. You can use double stick tape if you so choose. I find that this is fairly easy, that I don't need it. And then we're just going to do a top stitch along the edge of the zipper tab. done. Go ahead and stick that in there. And your bag is finished. Now on to folding. Folding the bag is quite easy. You're going to want to make sure your elastic is on one side. And you're going to fold your top edge down just a third of the way. Take the handle. Fold it all nice and neat in there. Fold the bottom up to the top edge. And then give it a couple rolls. Take your elastic and wrap it around. And voila, you've got a folded bag.
I hope everyone enjoyed my first tutorial with my very first bag pattern. I'm super excited to see all the different creations floating around on social media. I am looking forward to it all. I will link my Facebook group and my Instagram below. Feel free to join them, share, tag me in them. Will be more than happy to reshare. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.